The Steam Next Festival is awesome for discovering new games, even for me, so here are some brand new, never before covered games on this channel, including boss rush action, deck builders, horror games, action-adventure, turn-based RPGs, and more. So let's begin with Rusty Rangers, a sci-fi roguelite platformer with Metroidvania elements, mixing fast-paced action with character variety and deep build experimentation across procedurally generated runs. Choose from unique rangers, each with different starting weapons and movement options, then dive into run and gun action, where to be honest, it doesn't really have a strong gimmick, but the pixel art looks great and just looks like a well-made one of these. An insane looking first-person shooter is TAMASHIKA, which apparently is now part of a subgenre known as the corridor shooter, aka a post-void-like focus on flow, precision, and moment-to-moment awareness. You have a semi-automatic pistol and a tensile blade, and that's it. No other weapons, no upgrades, and no unlocks. And you can move, strafe, shoot, reload, melee attack, parry, as well as blink and astral project, and that's really it, having amazing art and animation and looks so fast. This video is brought to you by Cozy Organizer, a wholesome, cozy game, obviously as indicated in the title, in which you are organizing and sorting out a variety of items, placing and arranging them in a number of locations, from stacking items in the pantry, organizing your bookshelf, or designing your dream closet. It can be satisfying to clean and organize, so if you are detail-oriented like that, I'm pretty sure that this game will be of interest. I'm sure that the screenshots and videos coming out from this game will be great, especially due to the wonderful art style, and while largely a free-form, relaxing kind of experience, it will have fun, low-pressure organizing tasks which unlocks new items, themes, and layouts, so there's a bit more structure to the game, and if interested, try the free demo on Steam and wishlist the game. This next title seems like a lawsuit waiting to happen, since Escape from Duckov sure sounds like a parody version of Escape from Tarkov, featuring adorable ducks in a military context, but is a top-down looter extraction shooter instead. You are exploring the world of Duckov, battling enemies either head-on or sneaking around to get the jump on them, looting supplies and resources, and having to bring it back to your base if you want to keep them. Once back, use these materials to craft weapons and upgrades, including armories, gyms, medical stations, and a nest, which then gives you more benefits for your next expedition. Following a trend of games in this direction, whose closest comparison would be something like Zero Civet but ducks and looks cool. Witchy Business is a cozy job sim crafting game that places you behind the counter of a magical potion shop, blending garden farming, interactive brewing puzzles, and customer care into a satisfying daily routine. Gather herbs and oddities from your garden and the nearby swamp, then brew potions using minigames, which requires timing and selecting the correct ingredients, serve customers promptly, and use spells to stop shoplifters before they steal your goods. Customize your shop's layout, counters, and upgrade the brewing station, with there, of course, being cat companions as well, looking absolutely wonderful due to the art style and theme, and is a must-play for cozy game fans. Mind Diver is a first-person detective murder mystery game where you dive into the mind ocean of the main character Lena, which has been fractured, in order to rebuild memories and to solve this twisted case. Swim through surreal 3D scanned environments and examine memory fragments that each hide missing clues, ranging from objects to visuals or ambient dialogue, which you must piece together to deduce the truth. Every restored memory unlocks deeper layers tied to Lena and her missing partner Sebastian, weaving a tragic romance into the central mystery. This is an observational puzzle game, so there are no combat elements, instead focusing purely on the puzzles and narrative as you uncover the story, having some trippy looking visuals as well, and looks like a fascinating entry. A cozy puzzle platformer is Bluma, which stars a magical chinchilla who uses a mystical bloom bowl to create platforms out of flowers and has to restore the elemental realms. Journey through 4 themed areas: Crystal, Wind, Bubble, and Volcano, each offering unique physics-based puzzles as you link up these realms by planting portal seeds in a central greenhouse to reopen pathways. There are optional collectibles like secret butterflies which will unlock hidden endings, looking like a delight, primarily because of the design of the main character, which just looks so cute. TOLOM is a roguelite deck builder with a fantastic art style in which you play as a soul imprisoned in a bell, journeying through a dark fantasy world. Equip one of several suits that define your playstyle from the start, then explore open semi-procedurally generated maps with the now classic Slay the Spire style energy-based turn-based combat system using cards. You are free to explore and choose which node is of interest to do, strategizing on enemies or bosses to face, or if it is time to go to the shop to get new cards. Of course, I have to commend the art since it looks absolutely fantastic, having some rightfully creepy enemy designs since you are fighting back the miasma after all and will be for fans of the genre. The next 4-player co-op survival horror game of interest is MIMESIS, one which is centered on tension, trust, and betrayal in a world where cursed rain turns survivors into shape-shifting doppelgangers. Forage for fuel, medical supplies, and food during daylight as you navigate open-world environments and repair a tram which serves as your only safe refuge. The rain returns at night, where players caught out in the open might get transformed into a mimic, an enemy that perfectly mimics your voice patterns, movements, and behavior. You must manage resource runs by day and defend the tram by night, all while questioning whether your teammates are who they claim to be, where I suppose the quality of this game will heavily depend on the underlying tech and how good it is at imitating player behavior and in a more meta way what players will do to trick the AI creating these clones, and has quickly shot up the charts in terms of popularity. I have a number of spooky titles in this list where we only have a teaser for Gloomy Eyes so far, but it looks very Nightmare Before Christmas and is a narrative puzzle adventure that sees a human girl and a zombie boy working together and has a neat art style. Developer Wild Arts Games is like the embodiment of this meme, with their first release on Steam being the spooky Hell Town, which then switched over to the ultra cute Born of Bread, and now they are back to horror with Caput Mortum. This is a retro-inspired first-person survival horror adventure game set in a 16th century alchemist's tower, featuring resource scarcity, puzzles, and atmospheric dread, but most interestingly, has a unique control scheme. The default controller makes you feel more vulnerable, in which you are controlling the camera and your hands separately, making your way through the dim corridors and arcane chambers, scavenging for herbs, solving environmental puzzles, and trying to avoid monstrous alchemical creations. You can choose to hide or fight, with the control scheme adding to the tension, with the developers describing this as slow burn horror, with everything being very deliberate feeling, and is quite a different kind of horror game and looks intriguing. Another creepy title, but in a more interesting way, is Dead Station Files, the self-described hardcore tactical roguelite puzzle game, which has a creepy setup, but critically is experienced entirely through an emergency EVA-COM terminal that records the last missions of doomed space station crew members. You can load up the saved logs of these people, telling the tale from their perspective, with every puzzle being solvable as you avoid deadly threats and manage limited resources, all while a looming catastrophe bears down on you and is a different kind of roguelite. Rogue Factory is a factory building action roguelite where you are designing automated spell casting systems, surviving waves of monsters, and growing stronger with every run. Build alchemical factories outfitted with conveyors, generators, totems, and auto-cast modules to produce and launch spells at oncoming hordes, having a Vampire Survivors style component but with the addition of factory building automation. My Card is Better Than Your Card is a sticker-based roguelite deck builder that just looks so good, turning you into the king or queen of the playground by crafting your own cards with a playful sticker mechanic. Use hundreds of colourful stickers, each with their own effect, to create unique cards that you use in tug-of-war duels against quirky rivals. Every sticker adds ability or cost, so balancing power and affordability becomes central to your strategy. Between matches, participate in treasure hunts, trade cards, shop for rare stickers, and recycle old cards to evolve your library over a run. Combat plays out in turn-based card battles, where you and your opponent take turns to play cards, triggering their effects, which affects the tug-of-war meter at the top, representing how impressed your opponent is with how cool your creations can be. Of course, there are boss battles as well, which require a degree of strategy, but my god, just look at the art style, capturing a little bit of what it feels like to be a kid again. Thanks to those of you who commented the last time I brought up a game with this kind of art style, where we have decided on Thixel art as basically pixel art with thicker outlines, which is something that Orcdom uses, a minimalist tower defense strategy game where you are free to place towers to defend your crystal and have to cast spells to repel waves of orcs. There are various tower types like freeze, crossbow, and capture towers, each with unique purposes, and can be further enhanced with runes to boost performance. Interestingly, you're able to nudge existing towers when placing down new ones. Not quite sure how the physics works with that, but it's magic I suppose, which could have interesting strategy implications. There are a variety of maps, biomes, and even random events like night raids which change the rules of the game, with enemies being able to attack your towers and will not just stupidly walk in a lane, and as a tower defense fan, this is certainly of interest. The developer of this game shared it with me on Twitter, and I have to say, the Whims of the Gods looks like an amazing city builder, looking to be themed around Aztec or Mayan cultures, but they're not exactly going for historical accuracy, I think. Interestingly, this is a co-op title for 2 players, although single player is available, where you can join forces with a friend to shape this ancient civilization under the watchful gaze of capricious deities. Gather food, hunt wildlife, process materials, and build production chains across a handcrafted map that evolves as you unlock new structures. You need to balance workers' housing, food supply, and morale, while responding to divine events from a mystical calendar, including plagues, earthquakes, bountiful seasons, or volcano warnings, which require strategic adaptation. There is a combat element as your armies are activated to defend against waves of enemies emerging from the mountains, having auto-battler combat, but you will be able to use special abilities to turn the tide of battle, invoke divine blessings, or risk the wrath of the gods by failing key decisions. Where I'm interested to learn more about how co-op works, if there are any special interactions, or if it is basically the same city building game but with a shared resource pool and with 2 cursors on screen, but this looks good and will be for fans of the genre. There are 2 games with this title on Steam, so make sure you're looking at the right one, in which Into The Inferno is a 2D Zelda or Alundra style action-adventure game where a hero is dragged into the underworld after turning down an offer from the devil and has to fight his way out. This is not a roguelite, although the developers do mention semi-randomized levels where you are exploring and battling enemies, collecting soul crystals in order to access the boss room. You will find key items like a boomerang, bow and arrows, as well as angel wings, in addition to your sword, with that sword slashing animation looking very familiar but in a good way. The action looks fantastic as you are smoothly rolling around, dodging enemy attacks, avoiding traps and chopping up bushes, looking like it would be a perfect fit for the SNES. I'm not quite sure how long in duration this game will be, since it doesn't seem to have the village and exploration parts, although that is briefly teased at the end of this trailer, so we'll have to see, but definitely a curiosity of note. One look at Book of Abominations, and I'm pretty sure that this is my jam, a creature collecting turn-based RPG, yes, but one which draws inspiration from eldritch horror. Set on an island where a cursed tomb has unleashed nightmarish creatures, you play as an adventurer with the ability to capture and use these creatures, building a bestiary as you collect these and use them in combat. Explore the island's eerie, moody environments, from abandoned mansions to hidden caves, uncovering secrets used in puzzles or unlocking powerful summons. Battles are quick and strategic, focusing on snappy, turn-based combat where you need to use buffs, debuffs, status effects, and team composition to your advantage. There are also charms to collect and equip, which further alter your strategy, with parts of exploration being gated by certain creatures or abilities. These creatures can also evolve, and perhaps, thankfully, is not a roguelite, having a whole island to explore and seems to be Pokemon-like, just without the whole gym leader structure, with, of course, the pixel art drawing me in, so I'm definitely down for this. Speaking of pixel art, Abyssal Blade is a boss rush action game where you have to survive each encounter with only one hit point as you battle bosses that embody the stages of grief. Face 5 bosses: Denial, Anger, Bargaining, Depression, and Acceptance, each designed with MMORPG style mechanics like cast bars, telegraphed area attacks, and precisely timed attack patterns. You execute light and heavy attacks to build a mana gauge, which, when full, can unleash a brief burst window to deal rapid, high damage attacks. Movement, positioning, and cooldown control are critical, as one strike means game over, with each boss requiring pattern recognition and split-second decisions. The game emphasizes purity of skill over gear progression, so there are no stats or loot, only reflexes and your own improving skill level, being kind of Titan Souls adjacent, but where you need to deal more than one hit, looking intense and should be great. For a little break, how about Village Tale, a relaxing bottom-of-screen idle game where you guide a fledgling settlement towards becoming a thriving trading hub, all within the confines of your desktop. Construct buildings and place decorative elements to unlock new industries and grow your population while balancing production, crafting, and trade requests from nearby villagers. The game runs in real time, even when minimized, so your village continues to function while you are away and progress never stalls. Customize everything from building style to villager appearance as you improve happiness and reputation through trade deals, with classic city building elements like optimizing the layout, introducing new production chains, and responding to the ever-changing orders of your partners. But it is without time pressure or combat and looks very chill. Back to something more intense in VonGarland Castle Beyond Blood, a side-scrolling survival horror action platformer with Metroidvania elements, where our heroine explores Mayhem Island and a ruined castle to find her brother and to uncover corporate corruption. There is real-time combat against enemies and gigantic bosses where you use an evolving arsenal of weapons, but in typical survival horror game fashion, you need to conserve ammo by using melee weapons where you can. Solve item-based puzzles using keys and cranks, with branching paths and backtracking shortcuts showing the Metroidvania influence. Health and resource management means that you need to be cautious when engaging the enemy, with great enemy designs and hand-drawn art as well. It self-describes as Super Metroid crossed with Resident Evil 4, so expectations are high, but they might yet pull this off since it does look great. I'm not quite sure how this title is supposed to be pronounced, but ooh, sure sounds like fun, being a charming puzzle platformer of interest that stars a bomb-wielding caterpillar making its way through the world through creative explosions. You are using bombs not for combat but for mobility, launching yourself up across gaps, clearing obstacles, activating switches, and uncovering hidden paths. There's no text or dialogue, so you need to puzzle your way around, with each mechanic being revealed visually and intuitively through play and experimentation. Levels are handcrafted with subtle mysteries and multiple solutions, so you need to poke and prod at this, with the main game being planned for a 2 to 3 hour playthrough, but will be rich with puzzles and secrets, and there might be more to this game than meets the eye. perhaps animal well-like, if I dare to say so certainly give the demo a try. Another cozy bottom-of-screen idle game is Whims, adding a creature collection twist, again being your constant companion while you work, study or relax. Capture, breed and hybridize Whimlings to discover new procedurally generated species and unlock whimsical biomes filled with secrets. Decorate your personal space with charming items that grow alongside your collection and create a peaceful location to retreat to if things get too hectic. The pixel art is bright and expressive, while creature interactions feel warm and dynamic, with no pressure, no timers and no forced progression. Looking like an awesome cozy game, and I do love me some creature collecting. One of the main reasons as to why I wanted to make this video is that I have to share Thysia Story with you, a turn-based, party-based roguelite dungeon crawler that just looks awesome. This throws you into a retro-styled labyrinth as the bearer of the brand, leading your party of adventurers through dangerous, procedurally generated levels with first-person exploration that old-school dungeon crawlers are known for. You can recruit and swap between companions, each with unique skills, and teach them abilities through a skill-sharing system that deepens your strategic combinations. Combat is classic turn-based gameplay where timing and exploiting enemy weaknesses matter. Within the labyrinth, there are diverse biomes like buried forests and underwater cities, each hiding artifacts or friendly NPCs, but there is permadeath, so you need to start over if you fail, carrying over your knowledge with you into the next attempt. I absolutely love the look of this game, with very interesting choices of colour palettes, and it's old school cool but modern. An amazing looking action roguelite is Cinderia, one that centers on fast-paced, combo-focused combat with flexible build options. Hack, slash and blast through dark fantasy environments, facing foes like black knights and evil mages, using your active and passive abilities along with relic synergies. Choose different embers and skill sets to tailor your playstyle, then layer in relics and item pickups to augment your build within a run. Enemy attacks are telegraphed, so if you react quickly enough, you might just be able to get out of the way, with this also having a Chinese title translated to Country of Ashes, which is very apt for the setting. There is a permanent meta progression skill tree between runs, looking like a pretty sick entry and should be good. Speaking of sick visuals, while this game is full of faceless stickman types, there's something to the overall presentation of The Horde Wants You Dead, a top-down co-op shooter where up to 4 players face endless waves of enemies in intense skirmishes. Despite the swarms of enemies, this is not exactly a Vampire Survivors style title, since you appear to be much more limited in the number of projectiles that you can fire out, even if there is the roguelite style choice between 3 upgrades. So what is old is new again, so try this with friends. Watch this video for more co-op titles.